So we started in 1950 as the Norfolk Foundation. Our founders were 7 caring, forward-thinking individuals who wanted to see something good in our region last forever, and to be able to address needs that decades later they couldn't even imagine in 1950. They had asked themselves, what's the best way to do that? And they decided it was a charitable endowment. People still ask that question, how can I make my community better? And one option for them is the Community Foundation, because no matter what our donors are interested in, whether it's arts, environment, human services, youth, education, scholarships, we're able to do that for them.
In 1950, Norfolk was the 5th fastest growing metropolitan area in the United States. There was hope and optimism, but also great needs in the community. 7 civic leaders responded and established the first community foundation in Virginia with an initial investment of less than $3,000.
There's a saying about our community foundation that has been around for decades, and it's that it's permanent as the ocean and changing as the tide, which I think is pretty appropriate for this coastal region. I mean, like the ocean, we're here to help, but the needs of the community evolve and change over the decades.
The founders and the many generous donors since have had a tremendous and lasting impact on the community. The early endowment helped start Eastern Virginia Medical School, Virginia Wesleyan University, the Food Bank of Southeastern Virginia and the Eastern Shore, the Virginia Arts Festival, and Access College Foundation, to name a few. In fact, there aren't too many major nonprofit buildings and programs in the region that the Community Foundation hasn't had a hand in. And its reach continues more than 70 years later.
The biggest driver of longevity is result. The beauty of a community foundation, and particularly this one, is that we do an exceptional job of connecting individuals, generous-minded people from all walks of life with their philanthropic interests. And in the course of doing that, we are able to connect them to the region's most pressing needs.
Through a permanent endowment, the Community Foundation provides grants to nonprofits, scholarships for students, and support for initiatives.
The story of endowment is very important to a community foundation. We are built to be here forever, helping as needs come up. Someone entrusts us with a certain amount of money to do something good in their names, and we start doing that. And before too many years have gone by, we have given out as much as they gave us, and their fund is larger. It has grown so that it will always be here doing good today and long into the future.
Today, the foundation has more than 500 funds, providing grants to help more than 150 nonprofits do their work. And each year, over 430 college students are on scholarship, most for 4 years of study.
We are the largest grant and scholarship provider in our region. We have people that are known philanthropists in our community that are very generous, but we also have the unexpected, just the neighbor next door who had an interest in our community and wanted to do something good for it. We have small business owners, a telephone operator, someone who sold cars, nurses, teachers, government employees.
We also have a very strong staff that provides an expertise and a set of experiences and skills that help individuals make those connections.
What began as the Norfolk Foundation became the Hampton Roads Community Foundation in 2010, when it merged with the Virginia Beach Foundation.
In 1987, a group of Virginia Beach civic leaders started the Virginia Beach Foundation, which was a neighboring community foundation. And it did some really important work in Virginia Beach. Among its projects was helping save the DeWitt Cottage, which was the last of the old beach cottages along the ocean front, which became a wildfowl museum. It helped to get the beach health clinic started to provide free and low-cost health care. Sugar Plum Bakery so that people living with disabilities could have meaningful work to do. It helped the Virginia Museum of Contemporary Art get a beautiful new building in Virginia Beach and expand it. and also to start the Virginia Aquarium and Marine Science Center.
Along with individual fund holders, the Community Foundation maintains and administers several types of funds that allow donors to support a favorite nonprofit, support needs in the community 50 years from now that no one can envision today, and of course, help students further their education with scholarships.
Everyone's generosity makes a fundamental difference in the life of a community, no matter how small or how large. What a community foundation does with those individual contributions is create a leveraging that creates a whole that's more than sum of its parts.
One of the most common ways people leverage their philanthropy and leave a legacy is through a bequest.
In 1952, we received an extraordinary bequest for the time from a lady named Florence Smith. She lived in Norfolk. She was the daughter of a Norfolk physician and the last of her family. She chose us to be her family forever by leaving what was about $460,000 for scholarships for longtime Virginia students to go to medical school in Virginia. She wanted to honor her father. Over time, there have been about 750 Smith scholars, physicians who have had the scholarship, most for 4 years of study. And if you think about the impact, though, they've had on lives, the babies they've delivered, the lives they've saved, the research they've done. Our donor, Florence Smith's legacy is extraordinary and broad.
Whether it's within the context of our primary funding areas from arts and culture and education and human services and health and everything in between, to the role that we play strategically in rolling up our sleeves to address the long-term issues, sometimes systemically driven, that affect this area, and remain in the fix for the long haul to affect some sort of change. Another thing we're good at is identifying an issue, doing the historical research necessary to inform direction, and then in the midst of that, feeding the startup nature of it, and then typically spinning it off because it outgrows the shell of the Community Foundation. Our work in regional economic competitiveness is a great example of that. We're always looking for partners, and we recognize that no one entity, no matter how good it is, can have a truly systemic, life-altering impact on its own. And that requires a coalescing, a collaboration to a vision and a mission and a purpose that's bigger than any one of the individuals. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is work that looks inward and outward and looks at how can we help to fashion a more inclusive community.
As we look to the future, we can't predict what needs the community will have, but we can be sure that the Hampton Roads Community Foundation will be here to uplift the region in many ways and be excellent stewards of vital funds from generous donors that help so many.
The constant of a community foundation is its commitment to the community. So it gets its life and its soul from what's going on in the community, and then fashions a plan to make an impact on that, a positive impact. So it draws, so the foundation evolves as the community evolves, and community foundations are just superb at pivoting to the greatest need.
One of my hobbies is quilting, and I liken our work to creating a scrap quilt where each block is different. Each block by itself is interesting and attractive, but when you put them all together, you get something amazing. And to me, that's what our community foundation is. When you put all the donors and their ideas and the nonprofits and our scholarship recipients and our board and staff together, something magical and amazing happens in our community.